I'm Richard Pyatt. Welcome back to another in our episodes of the Little Blinking Light podcast. It's a service of AE Tech Design. Roger Forwarn is back with us, president of AE Tech Design. Today we're talking about technical debt. Now, we know about mortgages and car loans, but that's not what we mean here, is it?
No, it's not what we mean. It's not actually taking out debt against your technology, but it can feel kind of as ominous as those do to you sometimes. It is the piling on of things that you have to take care of with your technology. Can be financial, but it's not the financing of the technology itself.
Okay, so it is simply the state of it versus what you need, I suppose.
Right. Well, and it's what did you do at the time you implemented that technology versus what should you have done from a long-term planning standpoint, and the difference between those two. And the difference between those two can mean a lot. So
sometimes then when you're planning your technology, you're not looking at the big picture.
No, oftentimes you're not. Unfortunately, technology departments aren't always given enough resources. That could be money, that could be time, that could be enough human resources. But because of that lack of resources and, kind of looming deadlines, somebody gets an idea that they want to now have this in their organization. It's being demanded at the top. Chop, chop, make it happen. Corners are cut. And because those corners are cut, that's the first mistake along many that starts to pile up this technical debt.
Oh, man. Talk about an example of that. What would be maybe a common or simpler example?
Yeah. So, great example of that is CEO says, hey, we're going to implement this new application for our workers, our team members. And, they want this new piece of software. And they want it in the next 3 months. It's a quarter goal for them. They need this and they need it now. So CEO, CFO, COO, they all meet with the, technology director. Hopefully there's a CIO, CTO type role in there, but if there isn't, they're oftentimes asking, okay, what is it going to take to get this going? And they don't like the first answer. It's going to take us a year. No, we don't have a year. It needs to be done in the next 3 months. So this is a board goal. Yeah. This needs to happen. Okay. We need lots of time. We need lots of money. We need, we're going to have to hire 3 more people. Oh no, we can't hire anybody. We've already budgeted our HR budget for technology staff and you're at it right now. Okay. We can't get any more people. We can't, we have only 3 months to do this. Okay. We need to hire a company to help us implement that. Well, the budget doesn't quite allow for that either. Oh, okay. Well,
you can see what's happening
exactly. Here. You can begin to feel it. Okay. So then you start to go, but we need this to happen. We need to make this happen, and there's a lot of IT professionals out there who have been faced with this, and they recognize that what they're sacrificing, they always talk about, you can have, there's 3 factors. You can have it done fast, you can have it done cheap, or you can have it done reliably. Pick any 2 of those, and so they make sacrifices. Yeah. And so what they might pick is, okay, we can make this system and it's for our 100-user organization, and we're gonna implement this and it's gonna work well for our 100-user organization, and they eke it by.
But then time goes by.
Now this is a 300-person organization. They've had success in other ways. They've grown. This application now becomes unreliable, unresponsive. It's held together with duct tape and baling wire. And, they're constantly frustrated with their technology department that this core application that they're using in their organization isn't performing the way they want to. And because of that, they start to go, well, why isn't it? And the technology director looks back and goes, well, we didn't really have everything we needed, and this application wasn't designed the way we implemented it for 300. It was designed for 100. Well, why didn't we think through the future back then? Well, we tried, but we didn't have enough time, we didn't have enough money, and we didn't have enough resources to make that happen. And now this application isn't scaling with our organization.
That's a really clear example. So you at AE Tech Design probably walk into situations, look around, and see the results of that, right?
We do all the time. And it's one of the things that we oftentimes start with our clients, new clients, with a technical assessment. Yeah. So we do a technical assessment of organizations' infrastructure, their applications. How are they using them? Are they working well? What are some of those technical debts that have been mounting behind the scenes? It's kind of like seeing organizations that have spent all of this money on something, but it didn't have the planning associated with it to do it right. We've actually seen where organizations have spent too much money over here and not enough money over here. And the spot that they spent too much money on didn't serve them well. And so what we're always trying to do is make sure that it's right sized for now, but more importantly, what's their 5, 10, 20-year plan for their technology? Some of the decisions that you make when you're building a building, when you're renovating a building, when you're adding sites to an organization, some of those decisions that you make in the here and now are going to be hugely impactful to the growth and success of the organization during that time.
And if you didn't think about that, I don't know, 10 years ago, now you're going to redo all of that and probably pay more, right?
Well, you're absolutely, you're going to redo it. But what people don't realize oftentimes, and this is really kind of the crux of technical debt, is it's not as simple as just spending more money. It's not as simple as just pouring more resources at it, because you have something that's live and in production and in use in your organization. Now you have end users who depend on this. This is your staff, your core team that's making it happen for your organization. And you're now going to say, oh, we got to do all these upgrades. Your technical staff are going to go, okay, we're going to really dig in and start doing this. And they're going to start getting pushback from their end users. And it's not the end user's fault. They're all of a sudden seeing change that they haven't seen all of this time.
Right.
And they're seeing change to stuff that they depend on to do their job. It's making it harder in their world. So now you have technology staff versus the rest of the staff. You have, and it's, the C-level suite's job to try to bring all of that together. And it doesn't mean you can't overcome it. It just becomes more painful to do so.
Change is tough.
Change is very tough. Everybody feels that way at times about changing their organization.
So you might say that example you cited was, in a way, unintentional, in the sense that they had a goal to get something done. It was done, maybe not in the best way, and maybe that was unintentional. But now you have to be intentional later to deal with the result.
Yeah, as technology in every organization has become more important, you have to keep the lights on with your technology. It used to be, hey, we have to have, if you were a delivery service, your delivery trucks were the most important things to make sure that you had reliable trucks and enough of them and backups in case one broke down to make that happen. Now, if you're a delivery service, your logistics software, the software that's tracking things coming in and out, that's tracking where those trucks are and can they make it to their next stop in time, is just as important as the trucks themselves.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I've watched organizations actually shut down for a day, a week, a month, as they can't do what their core business, their core organizational goals are, because technology has gotten in their way, because that technical debt has mounted, and now they're like, oh, We have to do a complete network overhaul.
Boy, that's an extreme example, but imagine it's scary.
It's scary and it's real. It's real where organizations go, oh, we didn't really plan for this, and it's going to now affect our quarterly or annual goals. It's a real problem that needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed at implementation, not when it becomes a problem. It needs to be addressed in implementation that you're maintaining this so that you don't have a security audit and go, uh-oh,
Yeah.
all of this technology that we purchased isn't up to snuff. It's got all sorts of open vulnerabilities to it, and it's making our organization less secure. It's a part of it. So
What do you see more often? The extreme example where you're about to see your daily operation stop, or you're doing your overall assessment and say, well, you're headed for the wall, but we've caught it.
I would say we see some facet of an organization be greatly impacted to the point of stopping or near stoppage of work due to reliability, due to, an auditor saying, hey, we're going to have to shut this down if you don't fix it. It's not always the whole organization, but there's something that has happened that has kind of broken a portion of the organization where the C-level wakes up and says, oh, we really weren't listening when somebody said that we have an impending problem. We just thought they were just saying it because they were wanting to do something different. Unfortunately, you get the C-level that gets sometimes pitted against the technology staff. I'm not picking on the C-level. I'm not picking on the technology staff in this example. I'm just saying that they see the world in two different lights. Technology staff is sitting there realizing what's going to happen if they stay on the current trajectory. And so they say something, but it doesn't always impact the organization right away. So the organization, the CEO, CFO, COO is going, I don't see a problem. What are you talking about? And so they think that there's no problem. And oftentimes the people that raise those alarms, because they see the wall, as you called it,
Yeah.
they leave.
Oh, man.
And so somebody new comes in, and sometimes those C-level people listen to them, but sometimes it's still blah, 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 blah. Oftentimes the person who left, who saw the impending doom,
I'm out of here before that.
right, exactly, they're able to, because they've now left, they're the ones that get blamed for all of the mess. Oh, that person didn't do a good job of maintaining. That person didn't do a good job of planning for our organization. One of the benefits that we get to do is we're a third party.
Yeah.
We get to see what the technology department's doing right and wrong. We get to see what the C-level's doing right and wrong. And we come in and we're going to tell you how it is on both sides of that equation and what really needs to happen to move that forward, which is the most important part.
Well, and you anticipate where I'm going to go next. So all of that noise is, as they say, water under the bridge. How do you manage it now?
Right. And when you look at how do you manage it now, the real problem becomes it feels heavy. It feels much, much worse than when you initially implemented it. It feels much, much worse than if you had tackled it along the way. It feels much, much worse than if you had done the planning, stuck to the plan, and done the things along the way. So it was little baby steps. It's that old adage of how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Same concept here. You these complete overhauls, and we do them, and we unfortunately, take organizations through those. But the reason why they're complete overhauls of companies' IT environments is because we're at that impasse now, and they now know it too. But it's so much more painful, so much more stressful, and everybody's upset during the process.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be that way.
But the good news is you're going to help them do the future planning they didn't do before.
We will. And one of the things is, and this is where we see the most success, is when we can help get them to a good place, not just for now, but into the future, a place where their organization will scale and grow with them. But more importantly, we're going to tell them what to do when along the way. Then there's only one thing the organization needs to do is stick with it. It doesn't mean there can't be little right and left turns in there. It doesn't mean that there might be a year, hey, the organization isn't doing as well. We can't do some of those technology goals. But then we can replan along the way for that adjustment. And it still won't be near the technical debt that it would be if we didn't do those steps and if we didn't replan along the way. So the organizations we have the most success are the ones that bring us in, but then keep us in, and that we help manage that along the way for them. When we're able to do that, they're so much happier. And our clients would tell you that we're able to actually keep their organization not just running, but running in a way where technology no longer is the issue that anybody's talking about. And I think that's really the key, is you want it to be that people get used to change, but small change, manageable, bite-sized chunks of change for their technology, not these like, hey, we're going to come in and change everything, because that's what really damages, paralyzes, causes organizations to suffer at the hands of the technology.
So having that plan is good. There's always a chance that there's some new shiny object that might, and maybe it isn't a shiny object, maybe they need it, but it's going to affect that plan, right?
Oh,
so
for sure.
It has to be re-examined.
Some of the worst technical debt I've ever seen are pet projects. You have one C-level member, could be the CEO, could be the COO. Somebody gets sold something. Somebody gets sold something without engaging the technology group, and they've bought into whatever the salespeople have said. And usually the salespeople aren't necessarily embellishing what the product does, but what they oftentimes aren't saying enough of, or the person who's purchasing doesn't understand, is there's things that have to happen to make that work.
Yeah.
We see this a lot in security products. Somebody will purchase a security product thinking this is going to make their environment more secure. And we even see this sometimes in technology departments themselves. They purchase something thinking, hey, all of these features are going to make our environment so much more secure. Well, how do you implement them? Is your organization at a place where it can implement these things? Do you have the resources to make all of that happen? Is the company selling that to you actually able to do those things? Firewalls are a great example. We see this all the time. They buy all of these extra security services with their firewalls, and then they're never implemented. Oh. I don't know how many firewalls I've touched where I'm like, oh, they have all of this advanced licensing that they purchased, and they're not using a single feature on it.
Wow. That's incredible. So it can go that far to the extent that you're buying something and then it can't be implemented, so it just hangs out.
Right. Well, and that becomes its own technical debt. Now you've gone to this level of firewall with this level of licensing. Guess what? That's going to come back 5 years, 10 years when you go to refresh that.
Yep.
Now that's the expectation. It's just this cycle. And if you don't work on breaking the cycle, just like every other cycle, they keep going until you do something different. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to work with organizations on, is making sure that they do the things different, that they truly have the long-term plan, that they've really designed something for their organization that's really planning for that organization. And that the plan is constantly adjusted and changed as the industry changes, as cybersecurity changes, as reliability standards change, as on-prem versus cloud changes. All those things are things that really come into play.
I'm envisioning someone listening to this saying, my company is small. I don't need to worry about all this. Not true, right?
Not true at all. And we deal with this for sure on small companies. You can be that company of 5 people, 20 people, and you're still dealing with it. And if anything, you're dealing with it more. You're accumulating technical debt faster and you don't realize it. Great example. End user says, you know what? We really need some new software to track fill in the blank. Instead of using some sort of software that's actually designed for the purpose and implementing that correctly, somebody just busts out the good old Excel spreadsheet.
Well, can
Excel
be reliable.
spreadsheets, yeah, Excel spreadsheets seem great, but guess what? You start getting enough data in them, you start putting that in multiple places, it starts to become its own version of technical debt that becomes unwieldy.
Yeah.
It becomes something that they are constantly trying to figure out. Like now we have this animal. What do we do with it? And so you want to make sure that you're not doing some of those things, the homegrown things, I have a cousin who does, that in their spare time. They can do this for us. That's not what you want in your organization at all.
We're back to the planning thing again.
We are. Every organization, no matter how small, needs to have a technology plan and needs to understand what that's going to do for them in the long term. And if they don't, they're accumulating technical debt just as fast, if not faster, than large organizations do.
So an organization of any kind might say, I have a goal of 25% growth in 5 years. There's a plan to figure out how they're going to do that. There should also be a plan, technically speaking, to figure out how to support that.
Oh, absolutely. Because with growth in a company comes more staff in a company, comes more needs, more technical needs, scalability. It all comes down to how am I going to grow a small company larger, and how does that scale as an organization? Having that infrastructure up front is the key to making that work right and making it less painful and making it seem like you have a path forward. You want to bring on new staff and have them go, this is really good. This onboarding technically was as good, if not better, than when I worked at that company at 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And it can be done. It really isn't that hard if you have the right plan in place to do that. You just got to make sure that you have a plan in place. And that's what small organizations deal with the most. They don't have the plan because that's not what they're in business for.
That's right. Yeah.
They have a plan to do X, Y, Z. That's their passion as a company. That's what they're trying to get out there and do. And they're going to hit these plateaus, these walls where they're going to go, why isn't this working better for us? And it's oftentimes that they didn't have the plan in place at all. So,
all right. So what's your plan? What's your technical debt? Do you know? I bet some people probably don't even know, do they?
They don't.
So Roger and his team can answer that question at AE Tech Design. Just click the link in the notes and ask. Thanks for joining us on the Little Blinking Light podcast. Until next time, Roger.
Thank you so much, Richard. Appreciate it.
Take care.